There we go.
Great. Okay. Aleph, Aleph.
Yeah, so no, we're on Daled Aleph. Acholet
Dalet, Aleph.
Levinto, because these are new Mishnayos now. Daled Aleph. Acholet
Oh, you're going
Levinto.
that way. You're going that way. Okay. I was going the other way. Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Okay. Now, what happens when a surviving brother does chalitza with the widow? Nimtes Milberis, and it turns out that the Yevama was pregnant. Okay, well, this is good news for her in some ways, because now the chalitza, it turns out Lemafreya that it was not a chalitza because she didn't even need a chalitza. Once she's got a viable child, then her husband now has children, and therefore she's not eligible for Yibum. Okay. Bisman shehavlad shel kayama, if the child is a viable child and survives more than 30 days, then the chalitza is cancelled. And the brother who did the chalitza with her, who mutar bikrovosea, he is not he's obviously not allowed to marry her because it's his brother's wife, but he's allowed to marry her sister, which he wouldn't have been allowed to do if she was a chalutza.
Mhm.
Okay. Vehi moteris bekrovav, and she is permitted to marry let's say his son. I think is that right? His son. Oh no, no, not his son, because his son can't marry his uncle's wife, but would be permitted to marry his father. No, not his father. Can't be his father also because that's no, that wouldn't work. But what relative of his would be permitted to her? Um, his brother through his mother, his maternal brother, would be permitted to her. Okay, because there was no chalitza here. It's not like there's any family connection. But look, all right. Sorry, I think we're back here. What was the last thing that you heard from me?
Marrying his son.
Okay, so that couldn't work. I said it's possible that she could marry his maternal brother. That
No.
would be permitted. Okay. Um, but ein havlad shel v'lo pesala min hakona. Important point is that now that she's no longer a chalutza, she would be allowed to remarry a kohen because she's a widow. But a kohen is allowed to marry a widow. He's not allowed to marry a chalutza. Okay. Ein havlad shel kama. What happens if the child dies? Now she's back in the same position where she was before, where her husband has died childless, and if shel kayama means the child has to survive up to 30 days. Okay, and since that didn't happen, she's still a proper Yavama, and it's exactly as if he did a full chalitza to her. He did do a full chalitza to her. Who
Yeah.
asked her b'krovaseha? He's asked her to marry her relatives. He asked her b'krovav. She's asked her to marry his relatives. Upsala min hakona, and she's not allowed to marry a kohen. Okay, that's just general rules for a chalutza. Now, what happens if it went the other way around? Hakones yesivimto. He does marry his Yavama through Yibum. V'nimtes me'uberes. And now it turns out that she's pregnant. He's been living with her in the meantime. Okay, and she has a baby. Bisman shevlad shel kayama, and the baby survives. Yotzi, he he has to leave her. Now, not just that he has to leave her, but his whole I don't even think he needs to give her a get. Let me just check that out. Yotzi mashma beget. Um, but no, he doesn't need to give her a get because it's an erva. She is his brother's wife. Shelo b'makom mitzvah. There is no kiddushin. Okay. Um, and therefore he has to leave her. V'chayevin b'korban, and both of them have to bring a korban chatas because they've lived together. Okay, and having relations with an erva requires you to bring a korban chatas. So we'll grant that it was b'shogeg, but nonetheless that's what a shogeg brings a korban chatas. V'im ein havlad shel kayama, but if the child dies, or she miscarries, or the child dies before 30 days, Yikayim, then he's allowed to stay married to her because then it's still a Yibum situation. Um, Now, what happens? Safek ben Tisha Larishon, Safek ben Shiva Achron. What happens if he didn't wait? Now, as we'll learn, he's supposed to wait 3 months after his
Mm.
mother's death to make sure that this woman's not pregnant. But he was all eager, and so was she, and they got married right after her husband died. And now she's pregnant, and now we don't know if this child is from the first brother or the second brother. Okay, big problem. Yotzi, he has to illegal, but this time he does have to give her a get. Why does he have to give her a get? Because maybe this is his child and it's a valid yibum, and therefore for her to be able to remarry, she needs a get. Okay. Vavlad kasher. One way or another, the child is fine. It cannot. The child cannot be a mamzer. If it's from the first husband, it's a kasher. It's kasher from the first husband. If it's from the second husband, then it was a valid yibum, and therefore and therefore the child is still good. So child doesn't have to worry. The chayavin ba'ashem taloi, and they both have to bring an ashem taloi because they are not sure whether they're chayav kares or not. Okay. Mishna Gimel. Shomeres Yavam Shen Naflu La Nechasim. Okay, the Shomeres Yavam is the term that we give to the woman who is widowed and is awaiting a Yibum. Okay. Now there's a discussion in Kesubos about what happens when a woman who is married with Eresin receives an inheritance. Does her husband have rights with it? Now, in Yevamos, naturally, we talk about the situation when a Shomeres Yavam gets an inheritance. Now, the Shomeres Yavam obviously has less of a connection to her future husband than a woman who's engaged, who's actually technically married, but just hasn't moved in with him yet. Remember, we've got that 1 year period
Right.
that they would spend. Okay. So Modin Beis Shammai or Beis Hillel shemocheret v'nasenes v'kayam. She has the right to do whatever she wants with her property, whereas there is an opinion in the case of the married woman who's not yet the arusa who receives an inheritance, that she's not allowed to just dispense with to sell her property because maybe your husband will want to work, get the benefit of these things. So, but the Shomeres Yavam, nobody's got enough of a connection to prevent her from selling her property. And you can see why this would be, because if you've got multiple brothers, you don't know which one of them is going to be the husband,
Right.
or they might do chalitza, or even if there's only one surviving brother, um, it's not the same. It's not the same connection as somebody who's an arusa. Okay, Mesa. What now? She dies. Okay, so her husband died. She received a Yerusha, and then she died. Um, oh, actually, never mind. No, never mind the Yerusha. Forget the Yerusha part. Just simple case. Her husband died, and then she died. All right. Now, what happens to all of the things that she may or may not inherit? Right. Ma yasu b'ksubasa. Who gets her ksuba? Nechasim, hanichnasim yotzim ima, and she brings property into the marriage. What happens to all these things? Now, Beis Shammai omrim yachloku yorshe habalim yorshe ha'av. So Beis Shammai says it's difficult to say because these things don't. Her husband doesn't inherit her because obviously her husband, she doesn't inherit her husband, but she does. But the kasuba belongs to her once her husband dies. But it goes back to the brother who marries her if she's once she remarries by Yibum. Right. So the kasuba is the one thing that passes from through the marriage to the next brother. He doesn't have to make a new kasuba basically. Um, Now, if she dies, does he inherit that? Does the surviving brother inherit that, or the Yorshei Av, or the other heirs of her father-in-law, or does it go back to her side of the family? So Beis Shammai say it's a dot. We don't know. Therefore, take everything and split it down the middle. Yachloku Yorshei Abal im Yorshei Ha'av. Beis Hillel omrim nechasim b'cheskasan. Everything stays in its chazaka. Who did it belong to before the marriage? Okay. Kesuba b'cheskas yoshe habal. Because the kesuba never made it to the wife, it stays on the husband's side of the family. Okay. Nechasim hanichnasim v'yotzim ima b'cheskas yoshehav, and all the property, the nichsei melug and the ton barzal, all the things that she brought into the marriage, that the husband has the rights of usage of, but does not ever get ownership of. Those go back to her side of the family. Okay, let's go back to Aleph Aleph.
I'm sorry. Excuse me.
Aleph Aleph.
Aleph, Aleph. Okay. Okay. If 15 women release their co-wives and their co-wives from Kalitza and Yibam ad Finaitim, they are there are the following: a man's daughter, a daughter's daughter, a son's daughter, his wife's daughter, her son's daughter, and a daughter's daughter. A mother-in-law, a mother-in-law's mother, and a father-in-law's mother, his maternal sister, maternal mother's sister's wife, sister's maternal brother's wife, the wife of the non-contemporaneous brother, and his daughter-in-law. These release their co-wives and their co-wives with co-wives from Kalitza and from Yibam ad Finaitim. If any of these died, refused, or was divorced, or was found to be an alonus, their co-wives are permitted. However, one not can say of his mother-in-law or his mother-in-law's mother or father-in-law's mother, they were found to be an alonus or that they were refused. How did they release their co-wives? If the man's daughter, any one of these forbidden relations, were married to his brother, and had another wife as well, and he died just as his daughter is released, so too is her co-wife. If the daughter's co-wife went and married his second brother, and he also had another wife, and then he died, just as his daughter's co-wife is released, so too her co-wife's co-wife, even if there are 100. How is it they died? How is it that if they died, their co-wives are permitted? If a man's daughter or any one of these forbidden relatives were married to his brother, he also had another wife, and his daughter died or was divorced, and then his brother died, a co-wife is permitted. Anyone who was able to refuse but did not do so, or co-wife provides chalitza, but is prohibited from yibum. 6 forbidden relations are more stringent than these, for they are married to others. Their co-wives are permitted: his mother, his father's wife, father's sister, paternal sister, father's brother's wife, and paternal brother's wife. Okay. Good. Okay.
Yeah.
Now on to Tanis. Tanis. Okay. Gimel Chet. For every calamity that may fall to the community, we may sound the shofar concerning them, except for the successive rain. If what's happened, then the people who sit to Kohanim Hamagel, praying that rain should fall, he said to them, "Go and bring in the ovens used for roasting. The Pesach sacrifices let it dissolve because of the rain." He prayed, but no rain fell. What did he do? He drew a circle and stood within it and said before him, "Master of the universe, your children have turned to me because I am like a member of your household. I swear by your great name that I shall not move from here until you have mercy on your children." Rain began to trickle. He said, "Not for such rain have I prayed, but for the rain that will fill the water holes, ditches, and caves." Rain began to fall with a vengeance. He said, "Not for this have I prayed, but for rain of goodwill, of blessing and grace." The wet rain fell normally until the Jews left Yerushalayim for the Temple Mount in the face of the rain. They came and said to him, "Just as you prayed for them to fall, pray that they cease." He said to them, "Go out and see whether the stone of stairs had been washed away." Shimon ben Shadrach sent him a message saying that were you not Kohoni, I would pronounce ban upon you, but what could I do to you, since you are like a favorite child before the omnipresent? And he fulfills your wishes as a son who makes himself like a young child before his father. And he fulfills his wish concerning people like you. Scripture states, "May your father and mother be glad, and those who bore you rejoice." If they had been fasting and rain began to fall before sunrise, they did not complain. They did not complete the fast. If the rain began to fall after sunrise, they must complete the fast. Eliezer says if it began to rain before midday, they need not complete the fast, but if the rain began after midday, they must complete the fast. If what's happened, then the fast was decreed of the Lord, and rain fell before midday. Reb Tarfon says they would go out and eat and drink, and became a holiday. They went out, ate, drank, and became the holiday. In the afternoon, they returned to the synagogue and recited the great holiday. Okay.
One more? Yeah.
One of the 3 junctures of this year, the Kohanim raised their hands to bless the people 4 times during the day: at Chakras, Musaf, Mincha, and Nila, and fast days on Amamos and on Yom Kippur. Okay, Pesachim.
Yeah.
We're going to finish Pesachim today. Tomorrow we're going to go to
Shkalim.
Skullum. Okay. They pour a 3rd cup and he blesses after his food, for his food. The 4th cup and he completes the Hallel over it and recites the blessing of the song over it. Between these 3 cups, if one wishes to drink, he may drink, but between the 3rd cup, he may not drink. They may not conclude the feast after eating the Pesach with dessert. If some fell asleep, they may eat it all. They may not eat. Rabbi Yossi said if they doze, they may eat. If they fell into deep sleep, they may not eat. The basic offering contaminates one's hands. After midnight, pigul and leftover sacrificial meat contaminate the hands. If he recited the blessing of the Pesach offering, he resembles the blessing of the Kika offering. But if he recited that of the Kika offering, but does not accept that of the Pesach offering, these are the words of Rabbi Yishmael. Rabbi Akiva says this one does not accept that one, nor does that one accept this one. Okay.
Okay. Adran alach, Maseches Pesachim.
Shavias, base. One may manure and hoe cucumber and gourd fields into Rosh Hashanah. Likewise, irrigated fields. One may cut off floors, strip off leaves to cover up with the earth, or fumigate into Rosh Hashanah. Rabbi Shimon says one may even move a leaf from a grape cluster in the seventh year. One may clear away the stones until Rosh Hashanah. One may clip, prune, and remove the redundants until Rosh Hashanah. Rabbi Shua says what applies to pruning and removing the redundants in the fifth year also applies in the sixth year. Rabbi Shua says so long as I am permitted to attend the tree, I am permitted to remove the redundants. One may smear saplings, wrap them around, trim them, make shelters for them, and water them until Rosh Hashanah. Rabbi Eliezer the Tzaddik says even in the seventh year, one may water the branches, but not the roots. We're on to Caleb.
Okay.
Cuff base salad. Running a bridal chair whose paddles were removed, Beis Shammai ruled the chair Tameh, but Beis Hillel rules the tower. Shammai says even the frame of the chair is Tameh. Regarding a chair that was attached to a kneading trough, Beis Shammai rules the chair Tameh, but Beis Hillel rules the tower. And Shammai says even if a chair built into the trough is Tameh. A chair whose slats did not protrude and it were removed is Tameh because it is usual for it to turn it on its side and sit on it. A chair whose center slat was removed and the outer ones remain is Tameh. If the outer slats were removed and the center slat remains, it is Tameh. Reb Shimon says if it was one handbreadth wide. Okay. Okay.
And finally, Marcos.
You said, did you say Scullum? Did you say Scullum tomorrow?
Yeah.
Oh, Scullum, okay. Beis Zion. If a sentence was passed without a Kohen Gadol, if he killed a Kohen Gadol, if a Kohen Gadol killed, he never leaves there. He may not leave there either for a testimony related to a mitzvah, testimony related to monetary cases, or for a testimony related to capital cases. Even if Israel needs him, even if he is general of the army like Yoav, the son of Teruah, he may never leave there, as it is said, who fled there shall be there, there shall be his dwelling, and there shall be his death, there shall be his burial. Just the city affords refuge to its boundaries, affords refuge. If a murderer went out of the boundary and the goal of the Adam accounted him, Rabbi Rossi Galili says there's an obligation around the goal of Adam to kill him and optional for anyone else. And Makiva says it is optional for the goal of Adam and anyone else who is not liable for him. If a tree was standing within the boundary and its branches extended beyond the boundary, or was standing beyond the boundary and its branches extended into the boundary, everything follows the branches. If he killed in that city, he is exiled from section to section, but a leve is exiled from city to city. Similarly, a murderer who went into exile in his city of refuge, and the people of the city who wish to honor him, they should say to him, I am a murderer. And they said to him, even so, they may accept the honor from them, as he said, and this is the matter of the murderer. And they would pay rent to the Levium. These are the words of Yehuda, when Meah says they would not pay them rent. He returns to the office that previously occupied. These are the words of Meah. Rabbi Yehuda said he would not return to the office that occupied. These are the ones who incur penalty of lashes. One who cohabitates with his sisters, one his sister's fathers, his father's sisters, mother's sisters, wife's sisters, brother's sisters, father's brother, wife, or with a menstruant. A widow to a Kohen Gadol, a divorcee, collusive to an Ori Kohen. Mamzeresh or a Nisanite to a Yisrael to a Nisanite or a Mamzer. To a widow or divorcee, one is liable for two negative commandments. For a divorcee and collusive is liable for but one negative commandment. Okay.
Okay, and we are done.
I got you out on time.
Okay. Yes, you did.
Have a great day. I'll see you
Good
tomorrow.
day.
Thank you.
Bye.